Let's see. Everybody looks like they're. I see Jimmy. I see Tad's on here. The rest of us are here. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's time to call the meeting to order then. Oh, I was gonna check the microphones. Everybody got the microphones on? Make sure that they're. I can tell because it lights up if their batteries are weak. Okay, somebody's, oh, that one just came on. Okay, so we're good. Okay, let's begin the meeting. Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with a pledge and a prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh Lord, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to meet together this night, for the technology that's available, and pray for thy guidance that we might do all that we can to support this town and for its benefit. We ask for this blessing, give thanks in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Okay. Okay, first item is approve the minutes of May 20th.
So moved.
Second? I haven't seen them, so.
I haven't got them out to you, that completed, but I didn't get them sent to you, so.
No, that's what I
You
thought.
could, if you would, please schedule them at the next meeting.
Okay,
So I rescind my motion.
Rescind my second.
I'll make a motion to suspend the minutes of April 20th until the next meeting.
Second.
okay, any discussion on the minutes? Since there has been motion, seeing none, all in favor of pending next meeting? Unanimous, Tad, okay, it's unanimous. Okay, committee and board reports. Fred's got 0. You got anything? Tad, do you have anything?
Nope, nothing.
Jimmy? Committee and board reports?
No, I don't.
Okay. We did have a finance meeting today for NMDC. We'll have our annual meeting next month, but everything is going forward with them. So. And as far as the landfill, there was a fire out there. I don't know if any of you are aware of that, but they had, it looks like everything's okay as far as the liner and so forth. So that's all good. Other than that, they have some groups getting ready to start picking trash out there. Right now they have Tempo doing that. Like normally we have scouts and all that. So that's my only reports. Manager's report.
Okay, as you all aware, it's a fairly long report, and I'm not sure you want me reading through every detail, but I'll start out and take whatever direction the board members care. First, I'd like, in the opening statement, to make a note that at the last meeting, had been here 3 days, and I said I'd take responsibility for everything. And with all we have on our list, there's plenty to do. And I think since I'm tired of using COVID-19 as an excuse, I'm going to take all the responsibility for that also. My opening statement is this is where I believe we are. I've been here 2 weeks. There's nothing more critical than the night for us to understand and to complete every step necessary per a schedule to get us to and through the town meeting. I understand the governor may be putting some relaxing items on that, but I would rather not take the chance. We got an election on the 14th, town meeting on the 15th of July, and I think it's critical that we get these things done. In doing that, while my time as your manager has only been 2.5 weeks now, in many hours, I have not found the issues to be the issues facing significant differences than those I've had during my career. The resolution, though, will be different, as will be noted later in my report. Due to the circumstances I've reviewed to date, I believe limestone may be faced with the biggest budget crisis for limestone since possibly back at the loss of Loring. It's not a significant issue, but it is very critical. And when we, oops, not going.
Yeah, and now it's on.
Did it get away?
Keep going.
in doing that, it really breaks down into two areas, which I'll explain as I go forward. But because of that, it's critical that we get the budget done, the budget committee gets it done, we get it approved, and get it out to the public to educate the problem on the budget issues that we face. Basically, what it comes down to is, as we said here this evening, here is the timeline to successfully accomplish the budget elections and town meeting for fiscal year 2021. From Wednesday, June 3rd to July 15th, the budget has to be completed and ready for the town meeting. That's in order for us to put together everything and every step, town report, warrant, and working our way through the process with all the deadlines that are required by state statutes. It doesn't leave us a lot of places to go. So what I'm going to be asking the budget committee to do is hopefully be able to get all their work done within 2 weeks and to work jointly with the Board of Selectmen to get their parts done. There's a lot of detail we have to go through to pass a successful budget to even get it to the floor without wondering how much of the impact is going to be on the budget. So right off the bat, here's the issues. And I broke them down, and I'll continue to break them down depending on what the board decides tonight on going forward. But our ambulance is increased from approximately $25,350 to $203,600. That's a big impact. It's got to go in this year's budget. It's got to be paid for. Education is going to jump from somewhere around 719,500 to 1,087,400 plus or minus some dollars, because I always prefer to see the final budget numbers before I go for it. Those two alone are going to make up possibly 100% of the budget, depending on how the Board of Selectmen and Budget Committee address what's left in municipal services. I'm hoping tonight that the Budget Committee will agree with me and go to my new format that I will use to discuss the budget, which breaks it down out of Trio into something that's more readable, more manageable, and better to send to the public. If they agree to do that, we can start loading on our webpage as soon as Monday the actual numbers that we believe that Selectmen and Budget Committee members are going to recommend, whether it's 5-0 or 5-4-2 or whatever, 3. The numbers that are immaterial right now, we've got to get that deadline. This gives us both 2 weeks to have the budget completely set and all the recommendations on it. When we talk about how this is being done, I've separated the budget out for budgeting purposes, unless somebody on one of the committees say they want to tackle reducing education or reducing the ambulance service. I see them as pretty well set. Wish we didn't have to say that, but it's what it appears to be. That doesn't leave a whole lot of difference in the municipal operations. And I've told the board that I'll provide them some options, but for all intents and purposes, that's flat. Some of the recommendations are in there, were made before I came here, but I need to look at them to ensure that they're in detail in each line where they belong. And if there's any others that we can take that possibly when the budget was set can be changed now. I believe the best thing I can do is do that over the 2 weeks period where we truly have identified all the numbers. So that's what my hope is from the Budget Committee and from the Board of Selectmen. As I said, the schedule is very tough. Tonight we have to approve sending the budget to the Budget Committee, and the Selectmen have to agree to work together the way I'm asking. If not, we've got to set here till the budget's complete pretty much tonight. Thursday, June 4th through June 16th, the Budget Committee, and hopefully with the board, will review and make all the recommendations to finally approve at this 16th meeting that this is ready to go forward, 17th meeting. But it's got to be done by the 16th in order for us to get it out to everybody as a final copy. What would happen at the meeting on Wednesday, June 17th, is we do what other communities call the budget reconciliation and final approval. That's where we sit down and we get into the issue of whether or not something's 5-0 or 3-2, whether the Budget Committee is against the board and so forth. I believe we can do that in one night if we work together for the next 2 weeks. Thursday, June 18th, the town report has to be ready for printing. Most of that comes up with from my end, but the warrant and the budget cannot go into it if it's not approved on the 17th. The town report has to be available by June 30th. That leaves us 12 days from the 18th to get all that work done and get the report out. On July 1st, the select board meeting needs to wrap up the town meeting details. On the 14th is the general election, and on the 15th is the town meeting. These steps are at the last resort. It'd be nice to beat all of them, but typically without the COVID day, this would be taking place in April, and we would have had more than sufficient time to accomplish this. But due to the fact that inability to get all our people together in the same room, that's what we're stuck with. I don't know if there's any questions from anybody on the board that would like to address that. Certainly, it's up to the board to decide. I'd like to see it be 5-0 if at all possible, because I really think one or the other is the only choice. Thank you. Any from the board?
My concern is that the board has simply listened to each department come through, and we have yet to have a discussion on whether we feel things are excessive or not enough, or what direction these department heads should be going in.
I completely agree. What I don't know how to do is to accomplish all that tonight so that we can send it on to the budget committee. I intend that when we're working with this, I will bring each board member in, sit down, go through their budget item by item. What's wants, what's needs, what could we cut if we have to cut? If there's extra money, what would we put in there as our number one request? And do that. Literally, I would have the package out to you on Friday night, presuming there's not too many things thrown on my desk. And we had set a timeline, because I think individually, a lot of this can be done at home. Either that or we've got to schedule a lot of meetings. There's no way you're going to get through that now. And what I'm trying to do is make up for the time that's been missing due to the virus.
And I respect that. My issue is presenting to the taxpayers a 10 mil plus increase.
99% of that, if not all 100%, is in those two issues.
I disagree.
When I get done with the numbers I'm putting together, from what was given to me, there's numbers in there that when you take those out of there, it's a very small amount of money that's in any decrease in there. And what I'm saying is I'm going forward with that at zero until I meet with each department head to find out what that number is. And presuming we go forward with that, I'll start tomorrow morning so that we have the latest exact numbers. And then when we do each department, that information will be provided to you. I don't know any other way to squeeze it in this short time period.
Well, my thoughts tonight were, where we have the budget process on the agenda, is just to briefly go down through where we've already reviewed and say, okay, this is what we have been approved, and so forth, where we're going to flat fund it. I really think, we need to have that, at least a unanimous decision here is where we're going to go with this. And so I've made notes all the way down through, and it's easy just to cover those notes, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the best way for us to go forward.
Yeah. Well, I brought this up beforehand in my report to lay it out to the board and any budget committee people. We have a real time squeeze here that we've got to get through. And I believe that there's a way to make it all happen without having a whole series of these types of meetings. But I'll leave that up to you. So with that, I'll talk about tax acquired properties. That's always one of the least favorable things for a town manager to have to deal with. But we still have a number of properties on tax acquired, and we're in the legal process now of closing that out. 4 of the 16 properties originally foreclosed on have been paid off, reducing the total amount from $31,983 to $22,295. I don't anticipate any more people coming in and paying those off, so I expect we'll be going into a full foreclosure where we take ownership of the land in the next couple of weeks as the deadlines all fall off. Other than that, it's taken a back seat to going out. I'll have a photograph of each piece of property in the next week's update. with an explanation of what our options are on each piece of property. There's a whole lot of new things with legalities that deal with foreclosed properties that we have to be sure we've covered. I don't know if there's any way to show the public that's here that new Trafton sign has been designed. Is there any way to?
That's what I was asking, what you wanted. I guess.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that, can you do that? I apologize.
If I can bring it up, because I didn't transfer it from my other mail.
Okay. Anyway, we can get it posted if you need me.
Yeah, I can put it on the website anyway.
The design has been completed for the new sign at Grafton Lake. The only change that we made on it is it didn't have limestone main on it, and that's been added to it. The order's been put out, and we expect it could be as soon as a couple of weeks. And we look forward to that. We're looking also at new posts being put in the ground and possibly even some solar lights that will light it up at nighttime.
What was the cost on that?
Somebody's always got a question for me that I'm not sure of. It was a voted cost and it came in, I believe, at that cost, but I will get that for you. This data just came through today, and I presume it was what was agreed to on the contract.
Well,
We never agreed to anything. I thought it was just going to be an estimate that was going to be given for us to discuss. I didn't know that we had already discussed that.
what we discussed was the design phase, which was, they were gonna charge us, I think it was $65 an hour.
Yeah, that's
What we agreed to have the design presented to us so we could see where we're gonna go from there.
Well, maybe that's what I got at last minute news today. I knew there was a rush from everybody to want to sign. And it was in for the final design change on it so we could send that. So
Yeah,
maybe that's what the 2 weeks is, but trying to keep up at the last minute sometimes is a little difficult. The
So-
campground,
but at this point, what we need is just the cost estimate now to actually produce the sign before we can go forward from that. That's where we're at.
if I seem a little sleepy, I am.
If it's within the manager's.
If it's below
allotted,
5,000, yep.
then he'd be able to proceed forward without.
Well, that's what I understood, but
Yep.
I'm not prepared to debate something I'm not perfectly sure on.
No, that's.
I will
what it
get that
is.
number.
As long as it's.
Okay, we're moving forward within the realm that we can of the campground. We are taking reservations. We are taking payments for it, and we are in the position of allowing people to start moving in and setting up. We're waiting for the second water test to come back. If that's approved, we have to have the inspection come from Maine Clean Water, and they've agreed to come down as soon as the test comes back. So we're opening up in the phases that I believe I've talked to most of you on, where we will be able to open it up. There might be a day or two where only setup is allowed, and then there may be a period where only potable water will not can be used for cleaning, but it can't be used for drinking. And we're pushing this. I know there's a lot of people that camp up there and are anxious. The only thing we will be asking beyond that is that they live within the guidelines passed down for the governor and stay within there so it doesn't have to be policed. Personally, without being political, if I can riot in the streets, I don't know why I can't go to church, but I leave that off the political scene. And so I think, other than it's not as fast as everybody likes, I think we've made some great gains, many of which isn't just COVID-19, because the well had to be set up and tested and so forth. Personal property tax issues is another one that's been put on my plate that dates back some period of time. I'm very familiar with the issues related to personal property taxes. It is a problem for most communities. Due to the need to complete the F19 fiscal year 19 audit, close the fiscal year 20 budget, and have the fiscal year 21 completed and ready for the town meeting, we've not taken the time to fully outline the issues and create a plan to remediate these issues. Once we have moved past the town meeting in July, we'll begin to put together the plan to make adjustments as necessary to all past, current, and future personal property tax issues. The PWD update is in there. There's been a number of things. The anticipated summer road, I think, is probably what's most interesting to people. We'll continue to patch roads. Coming back to Maine, I realize there's more potholes here than there is where I was living. So we'll continue that. Inspect roads and identify approximately 1 mile for paving. It's expected to be center limestone and west limestone is needing attention. Cross culvert on Cody Road is an approximately host number 102. Culvert needs reset and possibly replacement. Cross culvert on Ward Road to approximate host number 100. Culvert needs to be reset and inspected for replacement. Cross culvert on Bog Road at approximately host number 407. Culvert needs to be reset. DEP will be notified as there is continued water flow in that area, requiring the DEP to be notified. There'll be a two driveway culverts reset, one on County Road and one on Trafton Avenue. Many other culverts are in serious need of attention, but may not be in the budget for this year. We will certainly look forward to accomplish all that we can and have a list to look forward to next year. A lot of ongoing projects have been completed or ongoing. The beavers are on an ongoing issue at this time. The trapper has gotten 6 so far with more to go. A trench was dug for a water line and electrical and pressure tanks were moved at Trafton Lake Campground for the new well. And I would like to thank the Public Works crew for getting up there and getting that done in a timely manner. Road patching is well underway with approximately 35 tons of patching already placed and by hand in potholes. And that pretty much covers that. The Trafton sign update, and here's a note on that, I've given you that. Limestone recreation report is being set. I know there's a lot of interest in that. And along with everything we've done at the park, the COVID-19 does cause a series of serious issues that have to be addressed. But at this time, all team sports will not be happening through the rec department unless there's some clearance from Augusta. We'll not be traveling to other towns to join other kids in any other programs. If we do any traveling parents or guardians will need to provide transportation for the time being. At this time, indoor pools and splash pools are recommended to stay closed. We're hoping phase 3 starting July 1 may allow this to happen. So with that said, that's all based on the COVID-19. What we need to talk about is what are we going to do for the children of the town and others who are involved. Some of these programs will include hiking, biking, track and field, all individual events with no regional or state competitions this year. Outdoor arts and class, 6 feet apart, serving, seating and time limit of 10 per group. We'll add another session if more than 10 want to participate. There may be more added after meeting with rec committee members, but this I feel will get us started and in the right direction versus setting stagnant. Emily Keaton has resumed the dance fitness class for adults outside behind LCS for a small daily fee. This is every Monday and Wednesday, weather permitting, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We'll have that posted for everybody. We are hoping that we may be able to resume soccer season by the end of August so our fall programs can resume as normal. We're working on a few other projects and we'll continue to do that. Work at Albert Michaud Park revitalization project through the summer with the chamber and other groups. I will be taking over the issue of getting the work done down on the parts that need to be done because we've not had very good luck from recreation getting an answer to when the stage down there will be fixed up. Pavilion. Everybody calls them something different, so bear with me. Recreation is there. Library has already moved forward. The phase stage reopening was begun on June 1st. They designated a 72-hour book quarantine station, recirculation of materials after quarantine period, curbside delivery service of any materials in our inventory, and a library loan is still available. They're looking for other possibilities, including such things as book deliveries for those that can't get out and vote to do it. As I said, I'll be taking over the contracted part on some of these things that have to be done. The solar array updates, while it seems to be a pretty simple thing, is the fact that there's a lot of data that's got to be collected, and I put that on the back seat. I'm sure upsetting to some people, but the opening of the town office has begun to create 3 months worth of customers trying to all come in here pretty much at the same time. They've been very patient so far, but it keeps the front desk pretty much going without a lot of break periods. But we'll get that done as soon as I'm comfortable with the town report and budget is ready. There is a series of data in the police one that will be posted. All of the stuff will be posted on a site for me on the webpage. So I'll skip that because it lists every stop we've made. And that really brings us down to the items that I've got. I know for the public listing, they think I probably went awful fast, but I know we've got a long meeting getting into the budget. So if there is any questions on any of those, I would be glad to entertain them.
So one of the questions I've got relates to the audit in this timeline. Where does having the audit completed fall within the timeline of having town meeting?
We are not, as you're well aware, going to be able to get all of those done at the same time. Pat's here tonight. If you'd like to speak on it, I talked to the audit firm that's doing the transition for us today. We're going to be getting together next week to tie the final ends down so we can go to audit. The actual audit for fiscal year 20 will not be done, but we'll have the numbers for fiscal year 19. Squeezing everything in, that's probably why I've been working every day since I got here to try to squeeze all these in. We're not completely out of the circuit for getting this done, but we do have to get 19 closed. Pat's worked diligently to get those numbers set. We're going to meet to get the auditor to verify those numbers for us, which will trigger going for the audit to get done. And we're going to find the closest firm that will do it the quickest. We do not have to have it done and it's for the meeting. We can utilize one back. What we'll do is we'll use the numbers that have been projected by the study to be the base numbers for the budget. And with the work that I've seen Pat do, I'm very comfortable, along with the audit firm, Mr. Poitras, that we'll have good numbers to work with. And at that same time, as soon as June 30th is over and those numbers are loaded, I want to get the fiscal year 20 audit started at the same time. My background has my audits ready to go to the auditor right after June 30th. And that's where I intend to be next year, with the fact that the issue of addressing this is for a long period of time, the auditors used to be able to do the reconciling and then they could do the audit. That's not considered an acceptable accounting practice anymore. And a lot of towns are still doing it, but most audit firms are getting out of it. And that's something we've got to negotiate in the process when we meet next week, is how do we get the audits done and in place? From a financial point of view, the numbers appear to be fine. It's a matter of getting them in the proper accounting procedure. And when it comes to these things, historically, and if you look at the fiscal year 18, there's a number of these little things that are in there, and some of them date back to 2015. While I'm here, when the auditor comes in, if they point out something that's not up to the latest standards, and you need to understand these standards are upgraded every year, so that, I don't know, maybe they get more money that way. We'll be instituting them at the moment they say, well, this ought to be done a different way. We're not going to wait for the report to print them out. We're going to do them immediately. I don't know if that helps answer your question. But
no, that answers the question. The question I had was if your audit needed to be done in order to proceed to town meeting.
If I may, Chris, I think that the work that Tim is doing with Chester County, that in effect is going to be an audit. The numbers that he's going to end up with will be pretty much audit for numbers. Yep. It's just a formality of having an independent audit firm do the official audit at some point in time. But once we get those numbers from Tim for fiscal 19, we're going to be in pretty good shape. We should know where we're at.
Okay. Other than that, you can decide whether you want to go into old business unless there's other questions.
Well, I just realized that we skipped the very first item tonight, the public hearing.
Yes.
So we need to break and get back to that because that needs to be done. So we're gonna, before we go on to the next item, we're gonna jump back because the agendas, most of the agendas that were published and so forth did not have the public hearing listed. And it was set in the paper and everything, so we need to act upon that tonight. And that's for the renewal of the junkyard permit for Ricky Dope. So at this time, anyone that's listening, if you have questions or comments, and now's the time to let us know if you have any questions about renewing that. I don't see anybody commenting, so. Okay, so seeing that, then I guess we'll go back to old business.
Yeah, public comments.
Yep.
You wanna do that before you go?
Yep. Okay, so the next item on our agenda then is public comment. Is there anybody that has a comment that they would like to make? Okay. Everybody's still muted, so it must be okay. So move on to the next item, old business. Got two items there. I think we should take them out of order so we can, because the budget's gonna take some time. So one of the items is the summer hire. We had some discussion a while back about somebody doing the mowing and so forth. If everybody remembers that. In reviewing, somebody saying something?
I did, but go ahead. I said there was a motion that we made.
Right. So the question comes in that according to our town meeting last year, a new person was hired down at the Public Works Department. That was also part of the motion there, was that they were going to do the mowing and helping it with the winter plowing. That's why that full-time position was created. So a number of people contacted me asking me why we were doing this again if we already hired somebody to do this. So that's why I'm bringing it back up tonight. It needs to be identified what we're going to do. So discussion?
Well, the issue is Public Works, most of those full-time employees have a narrow window of vacation. And I talked to Bud about this, he's going to address that in the near future. But when you have just a narrow window, because they can't take vacation during the winter months because they're dedicated to plowing. And they're all taking vacation at the same time. This is why we're looking at hiring a part-time individual just to do the mowing. So that they could do more of the road work that needs to be accomplished. That was our discussion. And that's why we were proceeding forward with that. My question would be, it would be on next year's budget, so the one you couldn't hire somebody until after town meeting anyway. So it would be a shorter season anyway for somebody that's going to do that this year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So who used to mow the grass? Well, did they, if I remember right, didn't the rec have like some sort of a program? They had students mow before. We never used the highway before. Is that
It's
correct?
gone back and forth. We've had the highway do it. We've had the rec do it. It's flopped back and forth at different times. And last year we took the money back from Trafton account in order to pay for the mowing and so forth. But that's why I'm saying at town meeting, it was decided, we as a board decided that we need to create that position down there. And so that's where my problem comes in, is how do we go to the town now and say, well, we have second thought here. Yeah, we approved this, but now we still need this because we need these guys for this. So we have to go back to the town and say, Well, this is where we're at. So that's why I'm bringing it up tonight, is just so that we are all on the same page here. When people start asking these questions, we can give them some kind of answer.
So is
Because-
that why it can go out to the paper?
I guess I was unaware of,
I
I
didn't
was on the
know.
board, so I didn't have no knowledge, I guess.
So it didn't go out to the paper? I don't know.
It's probably before my time.
Yeah, it was.
And I have done some research on this, and I have talked about the winter vacation type of situation. At least one community I've been involved with, and it wasn't my idea, I learned it from other communities, is the concept of never being able to take a vacation in the wintertime for a highway person is kind of an unfair type of thing, as long as they can schedule it in a manner that's there. If somebody was out for a week sick, we'd be down a person. Random vacations for the fun of taking them off. And I always use the example, you just want a week's vacation, all expenses paid in Jamaica. Sorry, you can't go, you plow roads. I think there's times, and I think most people who work for the highway department could work with that. I think that can tie in also to the lawn mowing one. I really hate to see us putting anybody on right now, because a little, somewhere along in this, in the budget process, I'm going to be talking about how it's not a freeze of the current budget that we're doing, but it's going to be, it better be a need. And we've got to do that. I'm very concerned about the loss of revenue if the state doesn't meet their needs. And sometimes people in some communities don't understand when they pass the budget, you can't spend the budget if you don't have the revenue. So I'm very concerned what's going to come out of Augusta. I fought these battles in my career multiple times, testifying in front of the legislature. So I think it's a very, very bad choice right now to consider putting another person on the payroll, as much as I would prefer not to have them mowing for the next few weeks. They've done a good job with it. They've come through for me on a number of issues. And at this point, I wouldn't suggest that we hire another person and put them on the payroll to do that. That's my belief, because we might very well be taking them off the budget come town meeting.
So in the meantime, with our rec director working a limited capacity, why couldn't we use him in this capacity to get us through this budget to figure out what we're doing?
To use hire a person? No.
Use the rec director.
The rec director himself.
Well, the rec director has been, I'm not going to say it's out. I will look into that. But at this point in time, there's been a push by at least some of the board members to get the rec program up and running while we've been trying to get, and I don't want to put something in a situation where we cancel rec programs because we didn't get the lawns mowed.
I don't disagree.
Okay, I'm trying to balance them all for you.
But I agree with what you're saying, because there's a lot more time there that he has. He's been doing a lot of stuff online and so forth, but there is a limit, so there is other time in there. But
Well,
yeah, it's a good thought.
and looking at the departments, we'll do that. But right now, he's been my key person to get Lake Trafton Lake up. And there's a lot more to that than a lot of people realize when it comes to the water tests and getting everybody coordinated. I can't take any credit for anything other than writing how we're doing.
Where are we at with that, Walt? Did we send out advertise for the position or anything yet, or no? Or does anybody know for sure?
I don't know.
What's that?
We should know.
We should have. No,
We
we should have.
We should not have, because it's gonna be on the next year's budget, which hasn't been approved yet.
I have personally read the paper every week and I've never seen nothing in there myself.
So that's a good thing.
Even though we're incorrect, that was the motion the
Yeah.
board had made. It should have still
I,
forward, even though we were wrong.
it would have been before my time, but it's an easy enough thing for me to look into. And even if we've advertised, I would say we should cancel it to this point.
Well, we're having, me and Tad, I don't know about Tad, but I'm having a hard time to hear you. Like, all I can hear you good in the chat. Other than that, I can't hear anybody else talking. It's just echoing.
Yeah, it's the same. I'm having a hard time hearing Chris and Fred.
Well, that's because where they're located here. That's why we chose not to do the meeting here in the building, because we don't have the opportunity to
It's just hard to keep along, that's all. I can hear,
Yeah.
but I can't hear what they're actually saying, so it's hard to comment or know.
What we can do is I can pass the mic back and forth. Maybe that'll help.
Okay.
We'll see how that works. Okay?
Yep.
Anyway, but as far as advertisement, it was a motion in one of our meetings, I agree. And I didn't know that it hadn't gone out because I don't get the paper and I don't have community channels, so I have no idea. So I guess that's something we can look into and see. But again, there's no money to fund it anyway, so even if it did go out. So
I
it
think it
still
might be
should
a
have
better
gone out.
discussion after we go over the
Right.
budget. I think that you
Right.
probably
Yep,
have some sort of better understanding that I don't believe either. I'm pretty much like Bud. I don't believe there's gonna be any money left to do anything myself, but
no, I don't either. Okay, so I think now is a good time for us to take a look at the budget, if everybody's in agreement. And Pat's here. I'm gonna have Pat just give a quick briefing on some of the things that he's found. I've been passing on to the board as he's passed stuff on to me, but he's here tonight just so he can cover all these topics all at once, so everybody gets the same information. So,
If they got the email.
so well, which one are we gonna go over the budget wise? I just got this copied off. There's like 100 pages here. Is there like a summary we're gonna use or?
I don't have that one. It just came in the email evidently before I left home.
Right.
So I'm working off from 515 one, which I've got all my notes on, but it should be basically the same numbers because
Just duplicated. Okay, I'll go dig it out. This one here is kind of complicated.
Year-to-date numbers. I've changed nothing in any of the other lines, expecting that this would be an issue. What I sent you tonight was a package of how the budget would be laid out, and it's in the first few pages. It lays it out in a simpler way that makes it easier reading. So working off the one that you had before I arrived is fine with me.
Oh, let me go to work here.
Hey, Irma, I just muted you because you were echoing into the meeting. Okay, Pat.
Okay, Walt wanted to give me kind of a short run of what's happened. When my number one job was to do the bank reconciliations, which I have done from March of last year through current. And those are all done. All okay, but in the process, I found some glitches of things that was happening or should not have been happening, those kind of things. But some of those have been rectified. Some of them are being worked on. And the short version of it is that we're in pretty good shape, and I've volunteered to keep doing them for the next few months because I know Bud's got a full plate and he hasn't got any time to devote to do bank reconciliations. Other than that, looking forward to getting Tim Patra's work done so that we can bring things up to date. I'm very confident that the current year we're in, the 2020 fiscal year we're in, that the data, the revenues and the expenses and all those kind of things are, I would say, pretty accurate. So once we get to 2019 in place and done and corrected, then we should be in pretty good shape going forward. So hopefully that'll happen soon. Other than that, if anyone's got any specific questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. Anyone?
Make sure they know they have to unmute if they have a question. Okay,
If not, if anyone's any questions, anytime, just give me a holler or give Walt a holler or Bud and they'll get to me. Thank you.
I need to invest in the camera on a tripod. Okay. All right, so go down through this kind of quickly here, see where we're at. Sure, it's not going to be quickly, but it's okay.
So what do you want to do, like cuts and stuff? Well, if that's what we Is that what we're gonna do?
just look at each line and say, basically, do we need to cut this? Is there gonna be an opportunity? Do we stay with last year's budget? And generally, what I'm preferring, that we entertain tonight is that we stick pretty much with last year's budget. There's a few things that have to change, and I've made note of those, but other than that, that's gonna be my recommendation. But as we go down through, we'll see what everybody else feels, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So in administration, it went up $1,119 over last year. I propose that we still look at last year's because it was budgeted for one additional employee. So I don't know that we really need to increase this right now because I don't see us hiring another individual. Any thoughts?
No, I'm in agreement with that, Will.
Which one?
Looking at, my budget has 428,2020. So I'm looking at fiscal year.
2020.
For 2019.
We're looking at 2020.
What I had going, the 2020 had increased. Are you going back to the 2019 budgeted year?
I'm going to the 2020
What's the number you're?
budget, 31,276.
And that's the number you're proposing?
Yeah.
That's the number.
258,266. Right, well, that would be. your
For the
line
bottom line
for
for the whole department, yeah.
That's minus me, if you want to know.
That's minus you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I've got notes in here.
What?
That's why I'm doing it line by line.
So you're doing line by line.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way, we're all on the same page, same amounts and so forth.
I am, yeah, I'm in favor with the 31,260 or 76.
That's it.
And under the presumption you go with my plan, we would do each one of these individually. I would send them out to each person to get, when I've had a chance to go detail down through the lines to see if there's any that should be up or down. So if you work on just the bottom line tonight, that gives me the direction of where I've got to get to.
And I'm of the belief within these budgets that you're gonna be able to possibly do some things different than what have been done in the past. I think we're gonna have to give you that ability, especially if we're reducing the amount.
I came up over my third retirement in order to try to do those things. So if you just want the status quo, maybe we need to redo my contract. I'll go back to Florida. That's no. What I will do is each one of them starting. I'll get you at least one or two departments by this weekend so you can look at them. It's broken down in detail. These don't really go down enough detail at this stage for me to truly tell you where I can move something around. But trying in 2 weeks to get that far, I haven't been able to. But now, if we get through this meeting, I know I'm going to make my deadlines. I can focus on those.
I am in favor of going down through item to item. I think that you're gonna give this to the budget committee tomorrow or whatever it is. I want to go down through and I would assume everybody on the board would like input before you gave it.
Well, the only thing I was asking is that we work on it the same time they work on it, and that you don't make your final motion until you have to prior to the second meeting in June. It would give us time for me to be able to justify every number that's in there. But however you want to do it's fine. I have not been here long enough to justify every dollar that's in that bottom line number for each department, let alone any of the increases that were proposed before I got here. So whichever it is, I just need to know which one. I think I can do more for you if I am not frozen completely tonight.
So what, should we go through this line by line, or should we give them a chance to go through this and then give us the?
And then meet as a workshop with your input.
I would love to think that I can successfully get the budget committee to look at these and you folks to look at it and have a workshop before the next meeting where we can tie it all in. And I don't know if you're used to doing what's called a reconciliation process, but the budget that I would be recommending next year reconciles from the moment it's released in December. It reconciles every month on the input of the budget committee and the board. And I expect there's going to be a lot of changes next year. It's very difficult when you're working on a budget that the ink dried on in December, January, and here you are in June trying to, go. So I think this is a good chance for everybody to learn that. And like I said, when you take away the ambulance and you take away the school, you take away any of the increases that's in there back to bare bones budget, there really isn't much more. I think all of us know there's not enough money to do everything we're supposed to be doing. But as my PowerPoint presentation that I hope to have available before this is all over says, there's no more money. We can't go to the taxpayers, especially this year with 2 large increases that were thrust upon the town. So it's just a matter of which way you want to go. I can live with either way. You're the policymakers and I'm only the administrator. So I was just looking for some leeway to maybe digest a lot of numbers quickly and be able to stand in front of you and say, this is why I recommend this or that.
I personally agree in giving you that leeway. Once you give us that information, I'd like to have input beyond that.
Oh,
So-
this is simply to get to where we are tonight.
So I guess the question is, what are you looking for us to approve?
I'm
How you did it.
Tonight, so that we can.
I'm looking for you to forward something on, give something to me to give to the budget committee so that I can start working with them, because I've got to go through the same thing with them and they haven't been working on the budget. The same thing with them, giving them the same advice that I'll be giving you after tonight, so that when we get to a workshop of that final end, we all are talking about the same thing and the same numbers. So if you recommend, let's say that I give you administration over the weekend and Monday, you tell me, yeah, this is what we want. When I go to the budget committee, I'm going to go with the same data you had plus your recommendation for that department.
So you're looking for a motion to be able to bring this draft budget to the budget committee currently.
Right,
Correct?
that's correct.
And
It's
then
truly
we-
not a draft.
And
Only looked at it once.
But Jimmy, after he's digested it, we're gonna be able to have a workshop to have these discussions about the.
He's asking for a motion as far as maybe Walt will know better, somebody that has more experience on. We want a motion to pass this budget on to the budget committee tonight. I do not agree with this budget, so I have a problem with passing it on. That's my problem. And the
all
town
I'm
can
asking
afford to
for
pay.
is all I'm asking for is authorization for them to start working on it. You're not voting to pass anything. You're providing me authorization so that they can work on it at the same time you're working on it. And while we're working on it through the emails and so forth, that data will go to them, and any questions they've got that might be big issues, I'll bring back to you. So it's kind of like up to a 2-week reconciliation rather than waiting for the next meeting and then all sitting there and being totally separate on where we think. I think we're pretty set on the fact that there's no more money on the side of the budget that we've got control over. Other than if we can make a darn good case for why we cut something or add something. I'm not looking at the items that are in the budget and been projected right now. They were done before me. They were done probably many cases before the COVID-19 thing happened. And I think we need to get through those things and understand them. There's a lot happening these next 3 months. And with all the fear I have from those, I have more fear of what's going to happen when we're now going to be another month or so late getting the tax bill out. We've got all these things. So for all intents and purposes, we have no more money to spend on municipal services unless there's a darn good reason to do it. And it's a hand-in-hand working, just like it is with the board. If it wasn't for this isolation where we could all sit in the same room, that would be easier. But to try to do it this way in detail, it makes it difficult. But if you don't feel you want to move forward and try to get everything under the biggest microscope we can to make sure we're spending every penny as wisely for needs, I don't know how else to get there other than for you folks to have a meeting and go down through it line by line. At which time I'm not going to really have enough data to argue one way or the other. So
We're-
it's nothing more than just saying, let's get the budget committee working on this at the same time we are.
Tad, you had a question?
Yeah, we're allowed 50 people right now, June 1st. So
With
couldn't we,
With 6-foot spacing.
yes, couldn't we use B101 with the budget committee and us if we had to do one big giant workshop since we are under a time crunch?
We might be able to do that. We'd still have to have public availability.
Yeah, and we could stream it just like we are now. I mean, my tech's in that building.
That's true. You could get us on the Wi-Fi and stuff.
Yep.
Like I say, it's whatever the board wishes. It's always in the past that the selectmen worked it through before it went to the budget committee, so they have an idea of where we're coming from, and then they put their own ideas into it. But if we do it together, it'll simplify the process, but as long as we have good numbers to work with in between.
Well, that'll give time for Bud to get his numbers that he's gonna truly present.
Well, I truly look right now at the budget as it stands as it's the current budget minus any of the increases. And that's what my target is from the board. I haven't heard anybody on the board say, oh, let's increase the taxes besides the ambulance and education. So my goal has been pretty much to go down through each one of the items to hold the bottom line to exactly what we have now. And I think that's the best that we can offer the taxpayers. Yes, there is the addition of me in there and some adjustments in there. So if you go back to last year's budget for that, then you're cutting me, which, if you want to do that, it's okay, I guess. But I think that there's the issue that we need to address those, and I have to analyze all those by line item. What I'm saying is when I do that with each one of them, whether we do it in a big group or whether we do it individually, is the fact that that's my ultimate goal, is to not increase the municipal budget when the final line is done. And the data I was sending out tonight shows how we do that. It breaks it out. It takes the ambulance out of the municipal op and leaves municipal operations just as they are. It takes education out of the total budget and leaves it just as so that what we're truly focusing on is strictly the municipal operations themselves. And that gives a lot more leeway because I can release information right in detail that does it. In 2 weeks with everything else, I just haven't been able to get all that done. But as you see some of this data, you'll see I've made great inroads. And that ultimately will go into a presentation that can go on the website where people can actually go down through the PowerPoint process and see where we're spending money, why we're spending there, how it compares. And I'm just one of those people that feel this town meeting, even though I've never been to one in Limestone, that's a lot of increase when you look at the school and you look at the ambulance being all both increased in the same year.
And you look at the police department being increased by 50,000 and your public works.
Yeah.
Right.
So those two departments are definitely a concern that if you flat fund them, now we've eliminated that concern. But what we're looking at for a document, and I think what we're concerned with not discussing is not discussing those two giant increases.
Plus, there's a number of them where the numbers don't match up with what's here.
And there's
That's
two
why I wanted
new
to go
employees.
through each line.
There's two
I
department
understand.
heads that are looking for employees that we probably won't be able to do anything with.
It's what I am not saying that none of the things that are in there can't be done. What I'm saying is I've got to find a way to get the things done that need to be done and not increase the budget because I can move stuff around. That alone, with nothing else to do, would have been a major task to have done in 2 weeks. And I'm just asking to be able to provide you better data that's available and that goes back over a period of time. I have no confidence in them, but yes, there may be people in there that there's a good justification for why those are in there. But I want to meet with each department head before I come back to you with justification, because I can't even guarantee you how much of this information in there was an agreed to thing versus the Christmas wish book. And I would like to be able to detail that, so when I'm asked a question, I can give a specific reason why it's a need, or why it'd be nice to have, or why I just want something. And I'm not saying any of that's that case, but for me to give you numbers that I can count on, I've got to have the time to do those, which is what I've been saying with all the stuff we're trying to unload because of the virus. It's taken a lot of time just to get here. And I would like to not have to speak so much in all the rest of the town meeting, or all the rest of the selectmen's meetings, other than give you the update on it. We've covered a lot in 2 weeks, and I just, how do you want to do it? And that's all I'm asking.
I make a motion that next Wednesday, the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee meet for a budget workshop.
I'll second that.
Is that going to give you enough time, Bud?
Well, without it sounding terrible, thank God I'm salary, not hourly. If I can't get it, let's see, that's
7 days.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 days. That's 91 hours. I ought to be able to get everything you need ready.
Okay.
Seriously, I'm not joking. I came here, I told you this up front, I know the problems I'm going to be facing. It's going to take my time to get them caught up. And I would say I'm not too far from downloading into the program that I use. It doesn't impact Trio. It just gives us numbers that are easy to work on. I don't know how you've ever done the budget in the past working off this Trio package. It's made for auditing firms to do the books. It's not really made for doing what towns try to do with it. And I think once I get a few more pages done, and I can trace the fact that numbers don't seem to show up constantly because of the changes in managers and the changes in budget processes. If you look across those lines, you'll see that 2018, 2019, that the amount of numbers in there, it's hard to believe that some of those, the budgets rose that much or shrunk that much in those years. So I need to verify some of those so that we have real numbers, particularly 2020. That's the budget year we're going to close, and what the budget numbers are in there. But if you look at them, the changes that have been made in Trio over the last 2 or 3 years don't print out the same numbers that probably closed the year end. Some of that's Trio's fault. It's a complex program, and a lot of times it changes things that affect back data that justify that. I want to clear all those so that we have exact numbers. If you people want me to do it, I'll make it happen.
I just want to go, I mean, my goal would be without the 2 employees, like just as Walt, I mean, dude matched up maybe dollar for dollar, hopefully with this last year's budget. I mean, that's where you'd have to be.
I'm looking at that, if it's okay, as the bottom line for all the municipal operations, because there may be some that we put increases in that we can take away, but there may be some departments that should have had increases and they didn't put in. I can't speak for how that got put together before I got here. And
We absolutely should have a hiring freeze. We should not be hiring any new employees this year, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that's a need. I guess that's what I'm getting across to.
I thought I was clear in the fact that I don't see any of the numbers that are in the original package that you got that said increase the budgets. I don't see any of those things cast in concrete that can't be removed until I've gone through them and can come back and tell you, this is why this has to be done. And I have had no department head come tell me that they can't live without something. But there are ways we can do other things by moving out through the year and so forth. So I think you'll find, if you don't believe you get enough information from me when I get this finished, but it will be something that's in a readable format. in an understandable format. Doesn't mean you're going to agree with it, but at least you'll understand.
Okay, all right, I'm for that. We'll go Wednesday and I'll look and see what you got before I make any decisions.
My goal would be to shoot for that, 1,538,000, which was 2020 budget. If we can stick within that, and we even got a giant increase of 100,000 for our ambulance service. If we can shoot for that for a target number, I would think we'd be.
I didn't hear the number. Well, what was it?
It's the 2020 number of 1,538,951.
For this year.
That's the number minus the ambulance service.
Excuse me, it's 1,837,433. That's what 2020's budget was.
Yeah.
If we can
Last
stick,
year you're talking, I don't have it, so that's why I'm asking.
yeah, if we can stick to that number, because what's proposed is a 17% increase.
Well, that's what I think we all agreed on was last year's, yes. And I'm, again, I don't think we should hire anybody this year new at all.
Looking at this, if I had been a manager here and all the numbers were in the right place, I think we're on, especially with all that's going on in this country, we've gone from an economy in January that has been the best economy we ever faced. And now we've got people who, even though we get the tax bill out late, may not be able to pay it. We're going to be walking on eggshells. And we've got to, and I've got to be sure the employees understand that this is very potentially far worse with the after effects of this than anybody can possibly expect. And I hope come December, I can say I'm all wrong and there's money falling out of the trees. But in the meantime, right now, we've got to be the same way probably most of us are running our homes, very, very cautious to where we spend our money. And that's what I've got to digest. And that's what, now that I think some of the key things that we got to get over, I think I can take the time to put into digesting each department and going down through them. And that's why I suggested over 2 weeks, but I'll try to squeeze it all in for Wednesday.
I think there's a motion and a second on the floor. We really need to vote on this.
Well, I know, we're just having discussion still.
I just need to be told that we can start the budget committee working on what you want me to do. That really doesn't need a motion, I just need direction.
I would see why the budget committee takes the latest, greatest proposal to actually review and have something with working knowledge. Wednesday, I know we should do that as well.
Tonight, the minutes for the next meeting started. I'm not going to wait because it was bad enough that I couldn't get the information out this time. I'm not a person that likes to be late on things. The fiscal year 21 budget will be starting, and as soon as July 1st comes, the fiscal year 22 budget will be starting. Well, actually, it'll be August 1st now because we'll be running a month behind. But the process that I use upgrades the budget for the upcoming year every month in the year. It's no longer a snapshot of July 1st to June 30th. The board will be fully aware of every adjustment every month caused by any decision that we don't have any control over. And that's the step I want to get to, and I want to get to it quickly. And I think when we do that, you'll be happy.
We got a motion and a second to allow the manager to prepare this report for us so we can meet next Wednesday with the budget committee. All those in favor? Looks like we're unanimous then. Okay. When will we have the report so we have time to look it over before the meeting though?
Well,
I mean, with only a week to do this, I don't see how it's gonna happen.
well, that's why I was saying if we could do them individually versus me doing the whole package at a time, and then at the end, do the whole package. We're going to be able to do this under the presumption I don't get every board member and everybody else in town asking me to work on 15 things. The program is written, it's a matter of downloading the information. Is it tight? Yes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be ready on the second meeting in June to have the board and the committee vote, because that's the drop dead date. How we get there is up to you people.
Whatever we've got to do
Okay.
between now and the 17th, if we've got to have multiple meetings, then that's what we've got to do.
How about if you give me that as the goal and I keep you posted and send out each department as I've got it done, send it out to you by department instead of the whole package.
I think,
And then Wednesday, if we're ready,
in
We are.
7 days we meet, and maybe you'll have one department done, maybe you'll have two, and we go through that. And then if we've got to meet again in a few days, then we'll process that so that we're moving forward.
Not a terrible idea.
I'm in favor of you working with each department and sending this stuff to us. I don't have a problem with that because that'll give us a chance to review.
I'm fine with that.
I understand Chris wanting to have the meeting and we've already voted on it. That's good. So whatever we have available, we'll do at that point.
okay.
Okay? Not necessarily the whole package, but hopefully more than one department. And I would say that we should get 3 of them in there at least.
There's a group of departments that are very easy to clear through. There's a few others, without scaring the general public and stuff together, we have needs, police, fire, town hall, and so forth. We have wants, recreation, library. And I know that probably makes some people excited, but the reality is you've got that, then you've got a whole bunch of other lines in there that are goodwill. A lot of them we can hit very quickly, so we can get those done. But the real numbers are in the needs. And that's the ones that I will pull down tomorrow. I've got it set up. The program that I need to load it into is ready to be loaded into. And this is simply a matter of dropping them down. It sounds easy, but only if you know how to do it, into this format so that you have in your hands the layout that you've got, plus the real detailed reason for anything that goes up or down.
Is that information gonna go to the budget committee at the same time as us, so that they're on the same page?
That's what he proposed.
Okay.
Stacy did send in a comment here and I didn't catch it at the time, but it is true. He said the most recent budget I submitted was not a $50,000 increase. That's true. The second budget that he passed in took out that
Took out that,
increase.
Yeah.
So we're back to where we were, so. So he just wanted me to mention that.
I will tell you, I have in general, with my lack of information to deal with, have told all the department heads that everything that's in the budget right now, including increases, is that it's that we've got to look at it that closely.
Yep. And I'll be looking forward to it because I'm gonna keep all my notes and I'll be able to compare them and see where we're at. So that'll help a lot. Okay. Then let's move on. New business, set election and town meeting schedule. We've pretty much already done that. The
That's
election is
14th.
14th July, 15th will be town meeting. And if it's continuing, if we're at 9 o'clock and it continues, we'll also pick up on Thursday night as we have in the past.
Are they gonna put the candidates on the, I see a webpage on the town webpage? The candidates that are running for the positions that are open? Some people has asked me, but I'm unaware of.
I could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Hadn't been
People
thought
ask,
of.
I'm just like, well, I don't know. I guess I've never been to the town office to ask, I guess.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
Good idea.
You got my page set up so that I can stuff one in?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I've just been posting things right now for
Well, I
anybody
mean,
that comes to me.
You can post stuff if I send it to you.
Okay, junkyard permit. Do we have a motion to approve the junkyard permit for Ricky Doe?
I
This
make
is
a
a-
motion to approve the junkyard permit for Ricky Bill.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand so I can see. Okay, we're unanimous. Okay. Elected official report, Fred. Speak up.
I just want to make a comment. Public Works are doing a fine job patching roads. I appreciate their work.
Chris.
Questions? As it relates to getting rec programs going, I see other towns like Presque Isle, Easton have started some programs. The guidelines are 50 people with the space. What is our outlook on when we'll have some programs up and running?
That data he and I set on this evening, it's, wasn't really ready. I did mention some of the things they're looking at. Now that we're pretty much in the clear on the park, I expect that sometime next week we'll have a layout in time to advertise the things that we believe we can handle. We're watching very closely. We're also looking at it with the fact of if the governor wakes up tomorrow and wants to move the date up, that some of the programs from previous years might become available. But right now, the list I read earlier is the ones that we feel we can make happen the quickest once this is going on. We need to get something for the younger people to do. And that's what we're targeting on right now, is something, if at all. A lot of the stuff you just can't do in the groups.
A lot you can't, but I think we can get some going, and I'd like to see some of it going within 7 days. So
He got me this today so that we could tell you that we're nearing ready to put some advertisements out and get some things going.
One of my concerns with the rec and so forth is Albert Mitchell Park, the construction that needs to take place down there. We really need to get moving on that because that park is going to start being used, and with all this equipment and everything, it's going to, this needs to be done.
This is what I mentioned earlier. I am now taking full responsibility. There's been 2 or 3 people who have tried to get an answer to this. There was some water issues down there originally, but it's been pretty dry lately, and I'll be contacting him. I told him today I'm taking that over to get that resolved. We need to have a date to get it done, and we can't have it going on while kids are trying to play in the park once we're fully open.
I had a couple of complaints on the Bog Road culverts and the Ward Road culverts, and some of that stuff is in your report, so appreciate that.
Okay, Jimmy.
Oh, just a couple quick things. I would like to thank all the people that were involved with putting up the shields and stuff at the town office. I'm unaware of who it was, but I think that was a great thing. We were able to open, and whoever did it must have did it on the weekend, because when I went in there at the end of the week, there was not there, and then it appeared on Tuesday. So that was great. Also, the town employees that worked up to Trafton to make it, I had nothing to do. I was very eager to get it open, and they went up and did a great job to make it happen quicker than even I believed that it could happen. So I thank that part too.
Okay, Tad.
Well, it seems like you guys thanked everybody that needed to be thanked, but yeah, the town office, I think, looks great. We needed privacy screens in there for a while. And again, Trafton, seems like everybody came together and managed to get stuff done.
And I don't have anything. Just grateful that we have our new town manager here. I know he's been putting in many, many hours, because I've come down to check as I drive by, and I see him here and stopped in, and I've counseled him to take some time for himself, because we don't need him burnt out and sick where he can't help us. So just want to make sure everybody's aware of that he is putting in long hours trying to help us out.
And I also appreciate that, but I also come by at 7 or 8 at night and see the lights on, and 6:37 in the morning. I did neglect to say that, but I do appreciate you very much, sir.
Any other comments before we go to the next item? Okay. We're to the other then. Anything under other?
Any reports, any reports, Walt, did you hear, or maybe the town manager, about how we're making out on them dilapidated homes? He said he'd sent out 3 letters. I'm not sure of the process. Did we receive anything, or are we in the transaction of trying to get something done? Has anybody replied, or?
He's asking about the houses or buildings that are dilapidated or, otherwise needing a great amount of repair. What's happening with them? Brandon had identified a few a while back.
You're not talking tenants acquired.
No,
That's a list that hasn't found its way to my desk yet, but I've got it on my list to check in dilapidated buildings. I know that there's a paper been signed on some building, but I didn't know it was a list. So there's a ton of things, but I haven't seen anything on that, but I will verify what it is and I'll put it in an update now that I'm understanding everybody's email address.
Well, is the school gonna have their meeting to present their budget to the town? I know Holton did theirs yesterday. Here was doing theirs, Prescott was doing, but does Limestone have a scheduled date to do theirs? Because it's gonna be done before town meeting.
they do,
That's part of our budget.
they do it just like we do.
They're gonna do this at town meeting.
Well, that's the way
Usually they do it prior to.
no, we've always done it through the budget committee.
Okay.
And we've always gone that way. And then the budget committee gives their opinion on it at the same time. That's how we work with the school department. And at the same time, when it comes to town meeting, all the answers are there to discuss it, both town and school department.
So the budget committee will be receiving on their budget.
See, the reason why the districts have to do that, like Caribou, they've got other towns in there that they have to go to the towns and get the approval too. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We have approved warrants 76, 77, and 78.
So moved.
It's been moved second. Any discussion on it? Anything that you see?
There was a question.
Thought I had a question too, but she's all mixed up now.
And we're 77.
What is our goal about getting our packets? Hopefully we can get back on like Saturday. It is pretty difficult when you're trying to, like, I've never looked at very much, and I'm sure everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, Bud has already addressed that in his memo to us.
Okay.
He apologized and so forth, but he was just trying to get so many things into it that it just got a little behind, and him trying to get everything ready for us. There's just too much for him to do all in one time. But that's why he says from this point on, like this meeting ends, he starts working on the next one. So everything's in there. He doesn't have to wait until Friday afternoon to get all this stuff piled and then try to work through the weekend. And that's what he did. He worked through the weekend trying to get everything ready.
To clarify the situation, this is my third job period of time where I've inherited the problem of changing town managers on a regular basis. And I will tell you, whether it's me or anybody else, with my background, it takes a long time to fill all the voids that may or may not have been done because they were done different. But I'm also very geared at doing that as fast as I can. A lot of what my problem getting stuff out was getting the information up to date, which is why I was trying to send emails out that kept everybody posted to what's going on. That will be automatic now that I'm past this meeting, and I can put the budget in perspective. A couple of things are done. So they will all be out on Friday night. I understand sometimes it don't get delivered till Saturday morning, but they'll all be out on Friday night from now on.
Thank you so much. And another thing I had a question with, maybe Bud could address it. Like across from the Rotary Park, the lights are on 24 hours a day, 7 days. They don't ever shut off. I was looking at the bill.
Rotary Park.
Yes, across
Are
the
those,
street. Like
are those town lights?
we pay for that, right, Walt?
We pay in the electric bill.
I will.
It
get
just
the-
means photocell has to be
It's,
changed out.
it's usually what happens if the old lights, the photocell needs to be replaced, and typically, the power companies will come do it if they have them in stock fairly quickly. So is there a whole row of them, or just,
The power company has nothing to do with those though. So
oh, those are,
Kind of
those are owned by. the
oh, we
town,
own the lights. Ooh,
the
okay.
ones in the town.
Do we have somebody
Rotary
that,
Park.
do we have somebody that takes care of them, or?
The Rotary Department, Rotary Department. Anyway, the Rotary Club, they're the ones that have given it to the town, and they still maintain, like when the clock wasn't working, they still get somebody in there to do that. So I think we just need to mention to them and, but for changing out a photocell, even I can do that.
So
Anybody.
we're
can
not
do it.
talking pole lights?
No.
Oh, okay, I apologize.
No, they're short. they're short.
I'm used to the pole lights being an issue by people, okay. I will,
So
and they're on every night? Is that what you're saying, basically?
every day.
Every day.
The night would be all right, but they're on
They're
all.
just not going on and off with the daylight, okay.
And I'll look tomorrow and see, well, I gotta check with Rotary before I do anything. But I have no problem going down there and checking it myself.
Pretty sure we voted as a town to take that over. The Rotary gave it to us.
We did, but they still are maintaining the clock and all that stuff. Okay, anyway, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the warrants? Seeing none, all in favor then, raise your hands. Okay, it's unanimous. Just so you know, we have a number of minutes and warrants here in the town office that are still waiting signatures from those. Whenever you stop in, you might ask to sign them. What I'll do with these tonight, the ones in my packet, I will have the three of us here sign these so that they'll be available at the counter also for signatures, okay?
Can you do me a favor too, Walt, because it'll be late when I get by? Can you take the stuff out of my mailbox and put it in that little mailbox outside, and I'll pick it up tonight on the way through?
Okay, I can do that.
Possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, seeing that's the end of our agenda, is there a motion to
Motion.
adjourn?
Take a motion-
To adjourn.
Sorry.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. All in favor? Yay.
Wasn't too bad. It's not done yet for sure, but